10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning. Welcome, everyone, to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be with you today. It's going to be an exciting day of news and views and comments by you. And thanks for joining us on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. If you're listening, also streaming at cklu.ca. You just look for the Radio Player Canada logo. I think you click on that and it'll play in a player. Or if you download the actual app, which you can then listen to CKLU, including this show, anytime, anywhere, on your favorite device. We're also streaming on Facebook, streaming live, facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, and you can comment on either the Facebook page or YouTube as well, and it comes through on our studio and our studio switcher, and we're able to put your comments up just like this. Good morning, Jesse. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for being with us. And Leanna, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I can foresee the day, and it's going to be a good day, when there's going to be so many of us. Good morning, Natalie. Thanks for joining us. Natalie was a guest on our show twice, actually, last week and the previous week, running for council. City Council was a really great guest. So, yes, great to see that you're joining us this morning. And also joining us this morning is Billy. How's it going?
It's going good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, I'm doing well. Good morning, Lise. But at the same time, I think we were talking before the show. I just have this interesting feeling this morning, which I don't normally have. And it's, I'm not sure why. I don't know. It's a little bit of an ominous feeling or not, or just maybe a little clouds over me. It's over all of us. We're going to talk about that in the weather, but I don't know. I just felt a reluctancy for the show, which I normally don't have. And I don't know why, but anyways, it is what it is. It's a feeling, and feelings come and go. But
you're sort of validated by the timing of that weird sound that we were discussing before we went on. How it's like we just kind of popped on and popped off, and then it popped on again. As soon as you said this kind of weirdness,
yeah,
we can figure out this mysterious kind of buzz that's happening. But yeah,
it's not too bad.
Like affirmation at the beginning there. It's like, this is going to be a good day. That's the way to counter these things, you know.
And it is, regardless of how it starts and regardless of how I feel right now, I'm just going to go through the day and let the chips fall where they may, and it's going to be what it's going to be. That's what perseverance is. Whether or not you have the greatest time doing something, you just do it, and it may not be the greatest or the most whatever, but you're going to do it anyways. And so we've been getting quite a few more people on the show, which we do have again today, live viewers, and we're growing this community conversation, which I think is very important, not only for Sudbury, but for everywhere. So hopefully there's other people doing it in other communities, but we live in this one, and this is where we're doing it. And so welcome aboard, everyone. Make sure to like and share the video and the page as we begin to grow our community. Good morning, Lynn. Glad you're with us. So really great to have you all be part of the conversation, and Billy and I will just facilitate, going through the different stories that are going on, the issues that are important to our community and important to you. And the more that you're letting us know how you feel and things that are important to you. The more the conversation is, it's gratifying for everybody listening because we realize we're not the only ones maybe who feel a certain way. Anyways, so let's just get started this morning. There's lots to cover, and we'll get started with the weather, and we'll be back right after this. So yeah, as mentioned, weather continues to happen all the time. It's something you just can't avoid. The weather's going on all around us. And this morning the drive-in was foggy, and so it continues to be foggy. It's 16 degrees. Humidity, obviously, when it's that foggy, is 100%. Can't be any different. And then today, cloudy, 30% chance of showers. I'm not sure why it didn't rain yesterday in Greater Sudbury. I don't know if it rained where you are. Where I am, it did not rain one bit, but it looked very ominous. And yes, good morning, Jerome. Hope you're having a good morning. But yeah, the clouds look super ominous yesterday. It looked like it could have even been a tornado or something, but just no rain for some reason. It held off. But today, 30% chance of showers this morning and early this afternoon. A few showers beginning in the afternoon. Risk of thunderstorm this afternoon. And the fog patches, which we were talking about, be dissipating. The wind becoming northeast, 20 kilometers late this afternoon. The high, 19. UV index 2 or low. Tonight, showers with a risk of thunderstorm. Local amount 10 to 20 millimeters. My garden will thank you very, very much for that, because the garden is very much waiting for some water, even though we do water it. It's just we had rain coming in the forecast, so we've been holding off a little bit. So anyways, risk of thunderstorms tonight as well, so watch out for that. Tuesday, mainly cloudy, 40% chance of showers in the morning, early in the afternoon as well, and a few showers beginning in the afternoon, risk of thunderstorm. So pretty much a ditto of today, tomorrow. So risk of thunderstorms, and we're going to get a little bit of rain. 5 millimeters predicted. High of 21. With the humidex, it'll feel like 26. And the long range forecast, again, tomorrow, showers, 40% chance, high 21. Wednesday, a little break in the clouds and the sun peeking through, high of 15, getting a little cooler. Thursday, 16 and sunny. Friday, 17, mix of sun and cloud. And that's all I'm going to do, because speaking any more into the future, it's just, it's hard to predict that far into the future with weather. But anyways, they're calling for some showers on the weekend, and that's just kind of a gloomy thought. So anyways, weather. Brought to you by sudburyweather.ca, and that's a work in progress on our website. Basically takes you to the weather section of the sudbury.news. So watch for that page to be fully, or that website to be fully operational this week. It's almost there now. If you check it out, it's almost hard to tell that it's not 100% up and running. But we'll be back with Billy, headlines, and your comments right after this. And as promised, we are back here, and we're going to be, we went over the headlines, things that we shared. Now we're going to be talking local stuff, but really think of what's been going on this past week or so. Quite large kind of worldwide and, Canadian stories going on. You got the Queen who passed away. We have a new king. We have a new leader of the Conservative Party. We have interest rates going up considerably. There's a lot of things going on, but and we may refer to those things. And I mean, it's in the news. The news, mainstream media is covering it to no end. So I don't know how much more we could. What's that, Billy?
That was a nice summary, though.
You think so? Yeah. Well, the world is a changing.
Sometimes
Times.
it's a little while to think of those big things, but that was a big four right there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Leanne is talking right away about the mayor hopefully cleaning up downtown, and homelessness is an issue. It's a mess. And yeah, it's kind of depressing. Yeah,
That's
I
a big
agree
topic.
with you. That's a huge topic. We did talk about, and we are going to continue to talk about that as the election is coming up. We may end up with a new mayor. We may end up with a totally different council, or there's a chance that we can end up with almost exactly the same. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got a quick prediction on that?
Well, I
We figure
kind of,
the Vegas odds are.
yeah. Well, I think we're going to end up with a new mayor is my own feeling on the subject. But in terms of council, I really don't know, but I'm looking forward to the interviews that are going to be coming up. We interviewed Natalie Labby, and she's running for, I think it's Ward 7. Yep, she's running for Ward 7. But we have all kinds of interviews coming up. It's just, I wanted to make sure we had our issues with our internet resolved before we had any more interviews. Come on. And so I'm going to be getting back to them today. But this is what a lot of us sometimes aren't aware of, and it's a map of our community, Greater Sudbury, and all the different wards and the geography that they cover, basically. So, yeah. So if you have a look at that, what's that, Billy?
It looks like a pretty big region there.
It's a huge, huge region. And even I wasn't aware, like when you get around Azilda, Valtarais, Blizzard Valley, Old Hanmer, and then you got Capriol and all that. There's just a bunch of, like, you could almost live in a different ward than someone across the street from you, kind of thing. So it's just oddly, in some ways, divided, but good to know. Like, you wouldn't think Azilda and Chelmsford would be in two different wards, but they are, you know, things like that. And, yeah, so good to know who is running in your ward. Good to know where your ward boundaries are. Oh, yeah, so even Ukraine, yeah, there's big things going on in the world in terms of, you know, wars and some unrest. There's some natural disasters going on, things like that. But anyways, we're going to be focusing on mainly local. And as things kind of pop in and out, we're not afraid to go there. And we can and we will when necessary. And Leanne says she's praying for a new mayor. Yeah, I think a lot of people are with you on that. And Natalie says she was invited to meet Jagmeet Singh last night. He was in Sudbury. That's right. That's another story too that's going on. And she was invited to meet. He's in Sudbury today. I thought he was just in Sudbury yesterday, but he's going around town with Jamie West and France Jelena. And he was nice. And they did a TikTok dance, so you can look for that. I guess on TikTok, I don't know, or on Natalie's social media. Hopefully she's sharing that. So that's cool. And Jesse says, see how everything is split up and everyone is segregated. Everybody is pushed apart, and it reminds me a lot of racism. Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, so these are huge issues, and these are very true issues that are going on. Have you ever heard the term divide and conquer? Well, some people use that strategy in politics, right? And you can see if politics can get into the media, even then it's used that way as well. So unfortunately, yeah, There's a lot of separation.
Well, I wonder, because growing up, that was one of the rules is, I remember like parents at the dinner parties, they don't talk about politics, they don't talk about religion. Those are like,
Taboo.
and that was just kind of the culture at the time. But now that you do talk about these things, so maybe that's just people are, that's probably not a good policy either, not to talk about these things. So now that we're sort of getting around to talking about it,
Yeah.
and you have the expression of differences, and we haven't really had any, a whole lot of practice in doing that. So we end up, getting our backs against the wall a little bit. Things can inflame pretty quickly. So
Yeah, exactly.
once we learn to have the conversation a little bit easier and more calmly, that would probably be part of the future direction.
For sure. I know Leanna's saying that was probably a lot of fun to be with Jagmeet Singh and dancing and making the TikTok video. But yeah, and then Jesse says we need to get all the counselors on the same page and get together. But that's the thing, right? Around the table, it used to be taboo to talk about certain things because if we had differences of opinion, that could lead to getting into like an argument.
Yeah.
And then you don't talk to your uncle or your brother or your sister or whatever for a while because you're upset. So whoever's there controlling the conversation says, okay, guys, we shouldn't talk about these things or whatever, right? So you just didn't talk about those things. But I think something changed when the last U.S. election before this last one, and people started to get more political than ever and started to have more opinions and started sharing those opinions. This is what I think happened. Everybody, had an opinion about the former president and you were either very passionate for or passionate against. And it seemed to really kind of change that whole dynamic of what you talked about not talking about certain things, but now everybody was open to talking about those opinions, and it did start to divide people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, up until that, like if you were, liberal or conservative, that was like not really taboo. But I think, there was that sort of fanning of the flames probably by the media where they'd make that association. Oh, now if you're a conservative, you must hold these ideals, and you all these associations that go along with it. And I think they both polarized on both sides where it's like,
yeah,
you're literally Hitler if you're on this side, and you're
Hitler,
some other authoritarian if you're extreme on that side.
No, but it's funny. Everyone uses Hitler, right? You're Hitler on that side to some people. And then the other side, no, Hitler's on the other side. And there's totally opposite, but somehow they both end up being Hitler for some reason. I just think that's very humorous. They always play the Hitler card because that's about the most extreme example you can use that people at least get that's bad. If you're Hitler status, that's bad. So it's just funny though. So a lot of comments come up. I'm sharing them as we go, and you can watch them. And I'm sharing them on the screen, but you can also pay attention to them in the comment section. And obviously, we're having conversations with each other, which is what was meant to happen until we're able to not do that anymore, which is coming soon or potentially coming soon with the laws that are being made and things. We'll at least be able to enjoy that option to speak to one another on social media and comment and share our ideas for as long as we can. So anyways, let's...
Yeah. Well, that's people pushing back sometimes win. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, exactly. So here we go. Local news from our Facebook page. If you haven't liked or followed or our Facebook page or subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's facebook.com/Sudbury News or youtube.com/Sudbury News. And you can just subscribe, like, follow. That will really help us get the word out. And if you can share that as well with your friends, they can also become part of the conversation as well. Again, right? So no one's comments. How can you have a wrong opinion? You people say your opinion is wrong. Well, it's just an opinion. And I think we can't be afraid of somebody's opinion. The thing you can be afraid of, though, is a politician who voices an opinion out loud because they're in a position to do something. You know what I mean? Like they're in an authoritative position. And so, but regular people and citizens, if you think one thing or another, it's not like you have any power to, other than your one vote, which is, powerful enough. And we shouldn't downplay that in a democratic society, but it should be allowed, we should be able to hear someone's opinion, even if it's not our own. Like, I don't think there's certain people these days who think that's an atrocity to humankind to have a difference of opinion. And they get very angry if they hear a different opinion. And it's interesting just to see it happen lately. And I think it happened in that same time frame as the conversations around the table started happening. The differences in that we should be open to hear other people's points of view. And speaking of that, local news, we have a local person, Carrie Lynn Hodson. She wrote a book. She's a human resource expert. She's launching her new book today, Monday. And it's about the employers struggling to deal with labor shortages and the need to attract and keep new workers, which is a huge topic right now going on. I'm in that industry myself. And it's huge. There's employers saying they can't find enough skilled labor. There's skilled laborers saying they can't find work with employers, but I don't know why they can't find each other. So it's a mystery to people that are helping people find jobs, and it's a mystery to those who are trying to find employees. No one can really put their finger on what the reasons are for this.
Have you seen that meme? Something about looking for like a junior position, but sort of require 12 years experience.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a double catch-22 situation, but that seems maybe that's bleeding into the real world a little bit.
An entry-level position, junior, but you almost have to have the resume of a CEO kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
No, that's true. There's things going on. Miles is saying the shortage is very prevalent in the healthcare system, which is true. And I think the government is doing something for that. And that is to, how people have taken schooling or even had a career in another country that's not recognized here, but they migrate to Canada. I think the government is fast tracking people who have come in from other countries and have the accreditations there, but don't necessarily have the accreditation here. They're going to fast track a lot of the healthcare workers through, so that way they can get to work here. So I think it's a solution, and they're going to do it, and it's going to fill positions quickly. So that should be a solution for that.
Yeah, they did have the free PSW tuition at Cambrian too. I think that's was that a provincial initiative, or was that just a Cambrian? Do you think? Must have been provincial, I would imagine, eh?
I would think it's provincial. I don't know 100%, but I believe it's provincial. Yeah, but Cambrian in town in Sudbury offered that free PSW course. So you didn't have to pay anything for it. You didn't have to pay for the books or nothing, which is really cool. And you can get certified as a PSW without having to pay anything for it. So that was another initiative they did, which I think was pretty good. If you're looking at filling positions quickly, removing barriers for people. And as you said before, there is a danger in it. Yes, that's true. So if they're fast tracking a lot of people from who's taken, accreditation in another country, who's to say what level of education that was. We do know, and this is a fact, and this is why a Canadian education is so sought after for a lot of international students, is that in some other countries, bribery for educations is very prevalent. Like if you come from a well-to-do family, and it's even happened, there was a well-known case in the United States even, where there was a very affluent person that just paid for their child's education, bribed them, and they got their degree or whatever. That was in California, I believe. It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So
I remember something about that.
Exactly. So it can't even happen here, but it's at least very rare as far as I know, or you have to be very wealthy. But in other countries, they can just pay for a degree or a certificate or whatever. And so if we're fast tracking people that didn't really go to school and they paid for their certificate or their diploma or their degree, unfortunately, they might be serving you when you go in to the emergency at some point and treating you. And so that would be one of the downsides. And that is the reason why historically they've had to come through our processes, even though they've had degrees or whatever in their native country. They had to go through some schooling here to just make sure that they were educated in the way that medicine is practiced here, or whatever industry that you're in. Like you're educated in, the way any other person would be educated here.
Mm-hmm. The standards that are here.
Yeah, exactly. So Jazz Sudbury, you're a musician. I'm a musician. Now jazz is a particular type of musician. It hasn't been running for like the last 2 years during the pandemic, but it was back this last weekend, and they found a new home in the Place des Arts downtown.
That it looks like a cool place, and I wonder what. I haven't been to a concert or anything there, but I imagine it's got to be pretty nice.
No,
have you
it's
been?
brand new. I have not been, but I've spoken to quite a few people who have. They are very impressed, and a new auditorium, arts center is it should be impressive, and it should be, it's got that new smell. You walk in, everything's new. But yeah, so it probably has all the state-of-the-art sound and lighting and all that stuff. So if you're putting on a production, it's probably very professional, I would think. So jazz in particular would sound really good.
I'd imagine.
It would probably be built with the latest acoustical engineering, to have a good sound in the actual building itself. Yeah, exactly. So Miles was saying for the last story, he hopes at least there's some tests they would have to go through, some kind of filter that you don't just, green light or rubber stamp some of the people coming through. So anyways, yeah, Jazz Sudbury, I got to go to that at some point, maybe next year. I just never seem to. There's so many festivals in this city, so many festivals, and so many of them are crammed into the summer, right? Because we only have so many months of favorable weather.
That's the time to have them.
Yeah. Like we have sometimes 3 and 4 festivals a weekend going on. There's lots of stuff. I thought you would be interested in this next story here. Rainbow schools to wear pink. Not that you're, not that you'd wear pink, but you could wear pink. I wouldn't judge you if you did, but that's not why I thought of you.
I've had pink stuff before.
Yeah. I remember when the Miami Vice times were in, that was a big time for stuff like that, in the 80s.
That's right. I think I've got a conditioned response to that because of that Seinfeld episode with the ribbon. Every time I see that, wear the ribbon.
He was happy to support the cause, but when he's happy to get out there, give his money, walk for the cause, but then someone came up to him and it was Kramer, right? Wanted to put the ribbon on him.
Yeah,
and he said,
like, I don't want to wear the ribbon.
And then that was the hugest deal in the world. You got to wear the ribbon. And he's like, why do I got to wear the ribbon? Anyways. So yeah, so here we got wear pink to stand up against bullying on September 15th. Bullying, huge social issue that's been, talked about for, I don't know, it seems like the last 20 years. It's really been hit home. Do you think anything's been done about bullying? Do you think they've solved it? Solved the bullying? There's no more bullying anymore?
It became a big issue, I think, just after I got out of high school. Like, oh, now you guys care about it.
After the fact.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. I think it's probably morphed in different forms, because I do hear stories, because, you see a lot of cyberbullying and, kids, what's that? Kids can be cruel, I guess, in some form or another. And so it's good that it's being addressed, but it is probably part of the human development experience to some degree.
Yeah, I to me, I haven't heard anybody say that that bullying doesn't exist anymore, and that I think on social media as well, you can see in recent times people ganging up on people, bullying. Maybe bullying's changed a little bit, and maybe social media has made it more complicated. But is it part of the human condition? You know how when you're in a classroom, classrooms are kind of interesting because they're almost like little scientific experiments, each classroom, because you can learn a lot about human beings in your class. And by that, I mean, there's usually someone will take the roles. It's usually these roles that almost archetypally exist. So someone will be the class clown. So someone takes that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some are funnier than others, possibly in certain classes, but someone will step up to the plate and fill the role of the class clown. Someone will stand up and fill the role of the smartest person in the class, the person that every time the teacher says, what is the capital of Ontario? And their hand is always the first to go up. So there's always someone there. And then there's the bully or the bullies. And there's people that kind of step into these archetypal roles. And so let's say you had a campaign to say, stop always wanting to answer the questions all the time. You shouldn't always want to impress the teacher. That's wrong. Do you think you could stop people from wanting to impress the teacher, or stop being a class clown, stop joking, stop laughing? Can you stop things like that is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know if they can stop it, but there's definitely, like, I remember growing up and it just seemed pretty over the top in terms of kind of prison rules, in terms of, it seems like, we could definitely step up our society, our civilization a notch. This is, and I think it has, because there was a lot of, I don't know. I'm not sure if the cruelty level has changed. I think it's probably improved, but it's like the experiments you talk about. They do science on that, right? The prison guard experiment, and if you put people, sort of in charge, and you give them a taste of power, and it's like, how are you going to respond to that? There is a tendency to, maybe go a little extreme with that. And then they do the role reversal, and you get a taste of what it's like to be on the other side. And, and in the end, I'm kind of grateful for my experiences in some way, even though there was some tough ones, because I don't think I'd have the same view of the world, or, same perceived insights on things that, it's like, oh, I think I know what it's like to be really, to have that go through that rough thing. Not that I recommend a world of that.
And it is true, though. It's almost like a parent where you can do everything you can to stop your child from skinning their knee or feeling any kind of pain whatsoever. But I would submit to the conversation, the idea that part of life is to experience things that don't feel comfortable and that aren't always happy. In order to know happy, you need to kind of know the other side as well, right? So if you're sitting in a class without a bully, you're going, oh my goodness, this is the greatest feeling in the world. There's no bully. I love this, but you wouldn't think that if you didn't go through, having a class with a bully. Not to say that makes it right or whatever, but Miles is saying that workplace bullying is getting actually worse, is what he's experienced. And Jesse says basically that zero tolerance hasn't worked. And that's what I mean. Can you take bullying out of a person, just like can you take some kind of characteristic out of a person that they have? Like, can you stop someone from, if someone smiles a lot, can you say, okay, you smile too much, you got to stop that? That's just your disposition, is to smile a lot, or to laugh, or to anything that's a characteristic of somebody. I just find our society sometimes, when you take on an issue, I think there needs to be a lot more thought put into it. I think we can do a lot better job of talking about bullying. I think just talking about it, to me, like if you had people on talking about their experiences, how it made them feel, I don't really hear that very often. Just normal people talking, not someone sensationalizing and going for a public relations photo op for some social issue or activism, to say I've been bullied by someone else and now it's a media, spectacle. But people, just everyday average people saying, this is what my experience has been, bullied, and and even bullies talking about, regretting, treating people a certain way. I think that in and of itself would be, I don't know if I've seen even that out there.
Well, people putting on these initiatives, that it does help sort of spur these things. I'm sure there's some sort of spin-offs of that, and there's a conversation that's generated by it, right? So
yeah,
and I think that's important for people to have that at least intention. You want to be on the side of provide some justice to the world.
No, for sure. Yeah. But every classroom, so every time we could get through to one person who's in grade 8, there's another one starting junior kindergarten, and they're, you know what I mean? It's these things, there's archetypes of things, and each classroom is going to have their dynamics, right? And each person takes a role. Unless you have sedated, which I think there's been an effort to do, is sedate the classroom, so that way they just sit in their desks and listen while the teacher lectures, and they're not human beings anymore. They're not able to act up or
right. Yeah, that's too far on the spectrum that way, So
Yeah.
I think it's a balance. It's probably a lot like raising kids, which where you've got to let them learn, but you want to sort of control the parameters that they don't, and that they don't seriously injure themselves, but they are going to have some scrapes of their knee.
Yeah, exactly. That they can experience life, not always the warm fuzzy sides of life, but that they can, at least experience enough of
manage
it.
these experiences, right? It's not
Yeah.
damaging, crippling kind of thing.
And I think Miles was saying he experienced something similar to you, but he never told his parents, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of normal. We don't.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's kind of embarrassing. You want to try to maintain this image of yourself, which gets shattered when you run into your bully.
Yeah, exactly. Jesse's explaining a horrific experience here too, being bullied. We could almost have a show just on that alone, and because it's almost like if you start talking about favorite teachers or worst teachers you've ever had. You know how many people light up in a conversation like that, whether it's talking about favorite or the opposite, because we've experienced both. Like you light up. You got experiences. Oh, I had this one teacher and they were the best because they did this, they did that. I felt this, I felt that. They made me learn this and that and the other. And then you can talk about the other teachers that were the opposite. And wow, they're the worst teacher. They did this, they did that. And again, right? So what about the people that saved you from the bully? Or you saved someone else from a bully?
That's usually the end result. And that's kind of sort of worked into the worldview, is that life kind of, it keeps provoking you, provoking a response. And it's very true. Once you kind of confront it, it just, it all goes away.
And what does that teach you of life, really, when you think of it? Like what kind of, like, where does that lead? Like, how is that going to help you or not help you in your life if you have to stand up to things and learn to do that on your own and then have the experience?
Face your fears.
Yeah. So if you take that away from people, so you're not allowed to stand up to your challenges because we're going to take the challenge away for you. Right. But this is a balance. Like you can't really, I'm not saying I condone bullying by any measure, shape or form. I don't. It's not right.
Right. Yeah. You can't go to the extreme opposite so that, you're right. You probably can't eliminate it.
No, but I think teaching, sharing, educating is great to do, and I think, it's just like anything. Sometimes we could make things worse even by trying to solve a problem. But I think we need to recognize that it's not going away and you can't totally eliminate it. You can't. It's like eliminating like a cure for the common cold. It's always going to be with us. You just can't. I mean, maybe one day there can, but it's like teaching someone that, don't talk anymore. I know you want to talk, but just don't. It's hard to do things like that. So
yeah,
let the lessons roll out and work themselves out, and let the other person learn from it, and everyone learns. But if you make a controlled environment where this can at least take place, then there's an overseer where the teacher is able to at least deconstruct things and whatever. So what does someone say here?
Yeah, there probably should be like some kind of like at least education, for teachers and stuff to, how to deal with it. Watch for, you just want to make sure things don't get out of control, and try to help people learn proactively as opposed to at the other end of the spectrum.
And Ghislaine says basically like kind of society seems hypocritical if she says pushing the shot is bullying. Let's not forget this kind of thing. So society's saying you shouldn't bully. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like how did you
end up a bully somehow, right? So
yeah. So, and again, some people view that tactic by our society as actually bullying. So you can say don't bully, but while you're bullying in different ways, you're doing it. It's like your parents who are smoking saying, never smoke, it's bad for you. So it's hard to do that. 500 jobs lost in August in Sudbury, according to Stats Canada. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's a correct stat? 500 jobs lost. National unemployment rate is 5.4%. Greater Sudbury lost 500 jobs in August.
These are all very confusing. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think that would have been? I guess Laurentian would be a big chunk, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. 500 jobs in August as the unemployment rate fell by 0.5%, Statistics Canada reports. And there were 1,300 fewer full-time jobs in August compared to a month earlier. StatsCan noted, however, a gain of 800 part-time positions led to a decrease of 500 total jobs for Greater Sudbury in August. The unemployment rate in Greater Sudbury was 4% as of August, down 0.5% from the previous month as more people left the workforce. Still, the unemployment rate stood at 6.4%, below the peak from December 2009, and is below the long-run average. In addition, full-time employment was still down 4,400 jobs from the peak in April 2019 and stood 5,400 jobs above the trough in 2020.
I guess that's the part of the graph. That's the lowest part of the graph. Is that what they
There
mean?
you go. Probably. The number of full-time jobs in August was up from the previous month in business and building services, healthcare, accommodation and food services, and public administration. So these stats and stuff, they're always up and down, and I think that's an art and a science in and of itself to take numbers and know where they come from and know why things had led to those numbers and all the reasons and
how they calculate the
Yeah.
numbers.
and that's a
But
problem you
kind of
have.
see, like, very visually with your own eyes in the world around that you can see small businesses are definitely taking a hit. So
Yeah.
I would be surprised if that's true in a lot of those numbers from small businesses.
Miles says it might be the students heading back to school, but they did say there's an increase in part-time jobs, which I think a lot of students have, right? So maybe, I don't know. Hard to say. So, yeah. Moving along. Hopefully you didn't lose your job. Wayne says, though, I think a lot of this can be placed at the feet of the present mayor and Sudbury Council. They've made it very obvious that Sudbury is not, capital N, capital O, capital T, open for business. So yeah, that's what Wayne is saying. I think a lot of people feel similarly that Sudbury has kind of prevented a lot of things from happening. Again, how do we know which things have affected that particular stat of losing 500 jobs? I don't know. But CTV.
So I was just going to roll into this kind of related story. It seems post-secondary schools key part of Sudbury's economy, and I guess this is according to the city.
For sure, yeah. Yep. And comment here again says, so the city is saying, the education sector is huge to Sudbury, which it is. Like, that's one of our main employers is our education. And but Karen says, how embarrassing to have the mayor and the CAO of the city dribble hollow words from their mouths and pretend they value post-secondary education as an economic player in this community, when in fact both have been silent on the debate on the debacle that is Laurentian University. So haven't really weighed in on all the issues that they've been going through, including going through insolvency at the moment, which there is a related story there as well, I thought. Yeah, here it is here. Province moves up timetable to buy Laurentian real estate. Fired faculty committee continues to encourage a no vote in the CCAA plan of arrangement. So yeah, there's that'll be interesting.
I guess, under that path, the end of Laurentian, and then it would be purchased by the province. Is that the
Well, I think they have to sell off a lot of their real estate to satisfy the creditors.
right?
Like they own a lot of land, they own a lot of buildings, and they owe a lot of money. So if you go bankrupt and you own a brand new Cadillac and a Porsche and a $100 million mansion and you go bankrupt, well, you can't just keep all those things and you owe all this money. You kind of have to sell some things off. So it's kind of complicated. And that vote's coming up actually very soon.
A couple days, eh?
Yeah. Thought it was the 14th. That's in a couple days for sure. That's going to be interesting. So stay tuned for that. Here's an interesting story here. There's an older gentleman and someone stole his e-bike. But a bunch of people from the community got together, bought him a new one.
All right.
So that's a really feel-good story for the community. More things like this happen than we even know that even make the news, right? People helping each other.
Yeah.
We just tend to sometimes focus on the negative. So I'm glad we got that in.
That's
Passing
right.
out.
I see pictures of them in, is it Princess Auto? Did they have a...
Yeah, it looks like that's what it looks like. Yep. Got the
Okay, so
picture of 'em
GoFundMe.
here. Yeah. On the road again, the sign says on the
I like
bike.
that bike. It's nice, nice fat wheels. It's good for Sudbury roads.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
Definitely. I think the new mayor and city council should get one for everyone to drive on our streets. If you don't want to fix them, that is. This is an interesting one. The Chelmsford School won for the ugliest schoolyard. Chelmsford Valley.
Right. That's an interesting competition.
It is. I think it's just a
$20,000 prize.
$20,000 to go towards the, making things look
Who
better.
provides that money? Is that a city thing?
Yeah. Yep. The contest is to create beautiful school green spaces. But the one thing is funny about this is I just came from working in Chelmsford for about 2 months, and I'd go on little walks for my breaks, and I would go right by the school. And guess what went through my head as I looked at this school as I was walking by it?
It was justified, you're saying?
No, the opposite. I was like, man, this is a beautiful schoolyard.
Oh,
So green and big and lots of room for the kids, and it was well maintained. And here it wins the ugliest schoolyard contest, which I thought was rather funny. It was not ugly one bit. So McGosland writes to to Sudbury.com, should the city be more decentralized? This is going to be one of those issues, right? In the election coming up, the whole idea that these outer communities don't really get the services that the city does. They used to have their own mayors and their own, governance and all that, and their own budgets, and they used to make sure that all their outlining communities, they all had the services that they needed. But they find a lot of people with amalgamation that they don't get the same type of service that they used to get. So Jeff,
yeah. And so he's saying that I guess it's basically if you want to keep your taxes down, keep them centralized.
yeah,
Is that the gist of it?
yeah, he's seeking re-election Ward 4, and he's heard a lot of talk about the need for Greater Sudbury to decentralize services, but the issue is a bit more complex than that, which it definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, one thing mainly is cost. Like it costs a lot more if you want the same type of service everywhere other than at the center. But again, there's arguments to be made on both sides. And
Yeah. Because I mean, essentially, somebody's going to be making those decisions. Who's going to get the services and who's not, and where the lines are, and
Yeah.
if you're one of the parties at the unfortunate end of that decision, then you're going to have challenges to it, right?
Yeah, I think they need to address, though, the quality of services thing. They just do, because there's a lot of people living in the outer areas. It's not like they're sparse. There's a lot of densely populated outer areas around Greater Sudbury. So they'll have to pay attention to them, because they are voters as well, and they're going to vote according to what they feel is important. So you definitely have to make sure.
He says, I also think we need to further leverage technology to get more people involved. We need to try things like direct democracy, like neighborhood decision-making program in London, Ontario, that saw nearly 10,000 people vote on how to invest $250,000 across 5 areas in town.
Cool.
So that is a pretty cool idea to get people directly involved.
For sure. My question is, he's been in there for at least 4 years. So why is this just coming up now?
Well, it's getting increasingly more topical, I guess.
I guess it is, yes. So hopefully, that's always my question to an incumbent, right? Like when you're saying, it's kind of like Obama when he ran on change or hope. His first one was hope. So, but the second time he ran, he couldn't run on hope again because he was the hope, the original one. So, now you're accountable you said you're going to do certain things, or you want to do certain things. Why didn't you do them while you were there?
I don't know. Was that his platform when he got in? I don't know.
Hope,
Sure.
Hope was his first one. Yeah.
No, I just mean with Jeff.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. He could have been saying this all along.
Maybe
for all I know.
he's hearing more and more people talking about it. So that's what it's on people's minds these days.
And it depends when London did this thing, right? They could have just did this last year. So
yeah,
I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tipping fees, I don't know if anyone's doing renos or things like that. The city, a couple times a year, I believe, they have their tipping fee holiday free. You can go to the dump and drop your stuff off without having to pay a fee. So that's on the 19th. I believe that's Saturday. So
just a one-day thing.
Yep. If you have anything, you can drop that off without having to pay anything. Exactly. It will be a busy day. That's one thing. Do you want to sit in line for an hour so you can save $15, or you just want to go on a day where you can just kind of plow through there, pay $15 and you're in and out, right? Time and money.
Yeah.
But
don't they have like webcams kind of like overlooking the lineups so you can sort of see how busy it is before you head out?
I believe they do. Valet post best week in 20 months, according to Bloomberg. So Valet is doing very well financially. And then let's end with this. Condolences to the family of Riley from Sudbury, who was identified as the victim of the fatal boat crash on September the 4th on Meteor Lake. So our prayers and our condolences go to him, his friends, his family. And very unfortunate. And that's all the time we have for today, because time's up. But thanks everyone for commenting today. There was a lot of comments, so make sure to go back and look them. And if you wanted to comment on someone else's comments, have a conversation, keep the conversation going. And we'll keep the conversation going, same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks, Billy. You are the man filling that seat over there, the hot seat in the studio. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Stay tuned tomorrow, same time, same place, on CKLU and on Facebook and YouTube Live. Make sure to like and share the videos and the channels and the pages. We really appreciate it. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao.